Welcome to The Real Deal with Josh and Charles. I'm Josh.
And this is Charles.
Today on the show, we're looking at one movie from the past and one from this very summer of 2015. And Charles, how about you give us a little introduction to the movie we dug out of the archives for our old pick?
We dug out the movie Bronson. It was Josh had never seen it. I've seen it all the time. So I think it was a good one to, take a look at because I love it dearly, and we'll see what Josh thinks of it. But Tom Hardy's also been huge lately, so I thought it'd be really fun to maybe look at arguably either his breakout movie or his pre-breakout movie just to see how he got going, where he's now. So I think that'd be a fun place to start.
I agree. It was a fun pick, though I want to point out that this is a podcast about criticism, observation, recognizing nuance in the cinematographic field. If fun can happen in this. I don't think it shouldn't be fun, but I also want to point out that we're trying to, really dive into movies and take not a austere look, but a sober look at the craft of film.
Oh, I was just going to talk about his dick the whole time.
Oh, yeah. Tom Hardy hangs dong in Bronson, and I got to say, to great effect. He, with great aplomb, he hangs dong.
Aplomb. I think the word aplomb was created exactly for that use.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever really appreciated the male form until I saw Tom Hardy covered in I guess butter at one point and feces at one point and then black paint at one point, bashing faces, pouring blood out of his head, and screaming. I was like, yeah, that's a dick right there.
So where do you want to start with? You? This is your first time sitting through it.
First time sitting through it. So this is directed by notable European Nicholas Refn. Nicholas Winding Refn, which is like the least believable real name ever. I want to put that out there. I saw Drive in theaters when it came out, and I enjoyed it. I was not bowled over by it. I really enjoyed Valhalla Rising. Only God Forgives took a couple views to crack. I think the first time I thought it was pretty terrible, but the second time I was like, oh yeah. And this is the best Refn movie I've seen him do. I loved it. What a disturbing, visceral, agonizing movie. Refn's whole highly stylized approach to making movies is a serious double-edged blade. Sometimes it comes off stodgy, pretentious, and a little stiff. But in this, he really manages to he doesn't really draw attention to how stylized it is because it's so physical and so much about bodies. And he kind of gets away with some of the more over-the-top bits of almost Brechtian, showmanship that shows up in the film. The main character, Bronson, addresses an imaginary audience with elaborate face paints and with a sort of vaudevillian approach to telling this violent, blood-soaked story of his rise to the kind of grossest sort of infamy of being the most violent prisoner in Britain.
Yeah, the movie definitely, at times it's silly. I mean, it's got a great sense of humor. I think that's something that Refn works well in. When he's funny, he's actually really funny, and he's sort of taken a break from that. Only God Forgives and Valhalla Rising weren't terribly funny, but man, Bronson, I think it's probably one of his most comedic efforts, and Tom Hardy does a great job just pulling off that character.
Well, I was reading in the making of the film, Hardy was terrified about misrepresenting this guy for some reason, and I was watching.
Some reason?
Yeah, I couldn't really.
If he ever gets out.
Well, yeah, but man, woof. The actual, person this is based on is real, and is a terrifying human. Just a really horrifying character. I guess over time, his defenders say he's kind of chilled out a little bit. He changed his name to Charles Salvador to pay tribute to, his artistic hero. But, a muscle-bound, terrifying man. And watching some videos of him during his brief tenure of freedom in between lengthy prison stays, Hardy actually does an eerie job of capturing his physicality. This sort of twitchy, hyper self-aware, constantly like muscle rippling, eye twitching, mumbling, like a mixture of like insanity and bravado, where it's kind of hard to tell where one ends and the other begins.
Yeah, his those performances, some of my favorite parts are when he doesn't even say anything, just the way he moves. I mean, of course, Refn, if anyone's seen his movies, the fist is a common symbol, and the way he uses those fists of his are just perfect throughout. I mean, there's that scene where he's making out with that lady, and like the foreground of the shot is just his fist shaking, and he's just making very weird noises, and that's pretty much it. It's just like a wonderful. I mean, Refn's so attracted to that idea of the way we have such a limited control over our bodies and how we quickly can just fall into those traps of what we're sort of built to do rather than what we want to do. And I think that's just like a 10-second sequence where you see this closed, tight fist where he's trying to fall in love with someone, but he just really can't give up that violent sense. Well, and it's hilarious too. So
it kind of, it feels like the missing part of the puzzle and understanding a lot more, not just about the director Refn, but about Tom Hardy. Two men who gravitate towards the male body, incredible violence, and incredible issues of control. You know, the movies is begins with a man in a small cage and ends with a man in the smallest possible cage. One of the most horrifying shots I've ever seen in my life. I thought the beginning was disturbing, but wow. As the cell zooms in on Bronson at the very end, really chilling. You know, it begins with Tom Hardy naked, covered in what appears to be either feces or paint and blood, massive head wound, and, you know, flexing and stretching and preparing for a fight in the dark, and then ends with this broken man in a tiny cage just large enough for him to stand upright in. And it made me think about... Oh, sorry?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, if you left the movie, like when the credits start, you would have even missed that. It's like the whole movie it seems like he's having a great time. He's loving this thing. He's just, this is what he wants to do, even though we can talk about this a little more eventually, just like what he actually is trying to accomplish. And then that last scene after it cuts to black and then you just see him whimpering in a tiny cage. It's just it's a terrifying way to end such a movie that's actually almost seems light. And then you just get to this end where it's just it's so crushing just to see this person actually just stuck in himself and with nothing but himself. It's incredible because the guy, I mean, he's been in prison for almost, well, more than half of his life, and he spent almost 80% or 90% of his time in prison in solitary. And just like to imagine that aspect of it, that he's pretty much just alone with this thing. It's a really scary last scene.
Yeah, the movie is so good at not remotely giving a shit about like why he's doing what he's doing. We're sort of like given the option of accepting his own explanation at face value that he wants to be famous. There's so little, you know, there's almost no reason given for why he does what he does. And we watch a man crawl into a tighter and tighter tunnel until he can't move anymore, and you're left to wonder whether it's a tragedy or a farce or something to be celebrated. You know, and that ambiguity is kind of what makes it so captivating and horrifying. It's a horror movie. You know, we don't understand why he's doing what he's doing. And I know you wanted to talk about his intentionality, and I see no reason why to get into it right now, Charles. I'm not going to wait, Charles. I'm not going to let the goddamn world pass me by. I'm going to dive into this, and I don't care what you have to say, sir. It fundamentally does not matter why he does what he does.
And he's asked it multiple times throughout the movie. I mean, all the wardens ask him, people he knows ask him, like, what are you trying to do? What do you want? Like, every time he takes a hostage, it's like, what do you want? What do you hope to get from this? And he doesn't have an answer. He just wants it. And I think that's really especially if with Drive, with Valhalla Rising, with Only God Forgives. I've seen all of his movies. I grew up watching his movies when I was I woke up early on the weekends to watch the Pusher series. And I was just, when my parents were, still asleep, I'd get up at like 6 a.m. and watch Pusher. And I forget the other one, but yeah, it's just like he is obsessed with this. This is like the way we grapple with these emotions and this inability to control ourselves, and the fact that he's just claims that he wants to be famous without really even understanding what that means. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in there when it goes to all those performances that you were talking about earlier when he's like in front of a stage. I mean, just even that right there is this weird thing that he's playing out about what it means to be famous. And I don't know. It's just, he's definitely has no he's entirely motivation without anything underlying in there. He just wants it, and he doesn't even know why.
Yeah, well, it's almost like he's trying to appease like his own sense of having no purpose by doing the things that are the most manifest. Like everything he does is as personal and physical and visceral as possible. So I don't know, that's what I see in it, is that he doesn't know why he's living. He doesn't know what he wants to do, but he has to do something that is like etched into himself as something that has happened. And the only like delineable way that he can see to do that is to suffer endless defeats and endless bizarre accomplishments that are entirely about him suffering, because the suffering is the one real thing he can feel and the one real thing he can measure.
Yeah, and exactly. Because I mean, essentially, he points out, especially when he's in like the crazy bin and he's talking and he's like, he's not crazy. But it sort of just talks about the whole inside, outside. Essentially, whenever you have like a movie about prison, it really just talks about prison on a larger sense, and that's just confinement. And I think him being at that level where he's almost a savant, where he can just like see, he's essentially above everyone else, just looking down, just seeing the silliness and the pettiness. And once he gets out, he doesn't know to get a job. He doesn't know why to get a job. Like, just, he doesn't trap himself in what everyone else does. And it sort of just shows the way we're all sort of trapped too, which, I mean, it's really light and that's sort of a silly thing to say, but I don't know. It just sort of, he just doesn't really know how to behave in the society that we've made. And you could say that he's crazy. You could say that he's doesn't belong here, but honestly, he's just more of the animalistic side of humanity, just trying to figure things out.
Yeah. The first thing I was struck with in the first 5 minutes was that he looks eerily similar to Gigi Allen.
To who?
Oh, Lord. To those like Charles, woefully unaware of one of the most vile, reprehensible characters in music, Gigi Allen was a despicable nightmare human from New Hampshire who was a legendary hardcore punk figure for his live stage shows, where he would shit on himself, throw shit at the audience, eat shit, vomit, fight people, get fought, do heroin, assault people, assault himself. Someone who took the punk performance in a direction that I think no one anticipated or particularly wanted it to go, into just total nihilism. And the physicality of Bronson was really reminiscent of that to me, and Gigi Allen, of course, was very much a performer, and he carried out his version of Bronson's achievements in public on stage, and he too was jailed at various points. But yeah, it was an interesting parallel visually.
Yeah, I mean, to speak of real people, I think this movie was, I hate biopics. I think they're really bad at the heart of the movie. If you make them badly, essentially a biopic is just about, for some reason people think that recreating stuff we already know is interesting. I don't really get it. But this movie really, if I were to have to say...
Hold on. It's called the Argo problem, where we know how
don't even get started on that.
We know how the movie ends already, so how do you generate suspense out of a story that, like, I don't know. It's astounding to me.
Well, it's not even about that. It's that, like, Titanic is a bad movie, but at least it understood, yes, we know how the movie's going to end, so let's at least try to create some sort of character and some sort of emotion out of this. Argo, the last like half hour of the movie is a chase scene in which you're supposed to feel suspenseful over what might happen. It's just, there was nothing in that movie that was about anything other than the plot. So for Bronson to be not only about a biopic, but about someone who's actually alive, and to really try to take it out, and it's more than just trying to recreate a person's life, because no one's even heard of this guy, and it's really, Refn just saw the beautiful artistry that exists in this real life person.
Well, hold on. In England, he's like hugely famous.
That's true. Actually, I'm speaking from a very, American. I'd never heard of him before.
Let's get into that, about how maybe, we don't think about how we look at the world, and maybe, we could look at it from like a less America-centric viewpoint, Charles. Maybe
okay.
Maybe we can really like get into some of that and why we act the way we do.
Okay, so I take it all back. Everyone knew what this movie was going.
Yeah.
I just should have been. Yeah.
You're a bad man. My absolute favorite bit of trivia about this movie was that the real life Bronson was so taken by Hardy's efforts that he actually shaved off his mustache to be used in the film, which might be the best story I've ever heard about a prop in a movie. The mustache that Tom Hardy wears is actually the real life human Charles Bronson's mustache.
Wait, really?
You know, I at first was skeptical. I checked it out. It is true. It is
That's insane.
The mustache of the actual human Tom Hardy wore for the film.
I probably should have, done some actual fucking research before I started talking. But yeah, I don't know anything about how the real life Bronson took it. So how did he even know about this happening and to send in his mustache?
Well, basically, I guess there's some weird rule where Nicholas Refn, because he's not a British citizen, he couldn't actually visit Bronson in prison, so he spoke to him on the phone twice. That was all the access that the director had to the fellow he was trying to depict in film. But Tom Hardy had ample opportunity to actually meet with Bronson. And I guess at first Bronson was not happy with Tom Hardy, and so Tom Hardy doubled his efforts and I guess at a certain point managed to appease the person he was trying to emulate on screen. And the actual real life most violent prisoner in England has seen the movie and loves it.
Oh wow, that's great. I was wondering at the end. I was like, I wonder what this guy thinks of it. Because yeah, I mean, it must be. As we were talking about earlier, as a biopic, this isn't a regular biopic. It's not trying to, tell this man's story. It's not even trying to make you really even feel like you understand this person at all. I think Refn really took it somewhere else. But to have somebody, the person it's about, actually watch this, that must be really super bizarre. But I guess maybe because it's so different and so distant from him that he can actually really enjoy it on a different level. I have no idea. I don't know what the fuck that guy likes. I guess if it's Tom Hardy beating the shit out of things, that's probably good.
The terrifying, primitive, like super graphic, lurid, oddly fetishistic drawings that the character in the film draws is in fact that is very similar to what real life Charles Bronson draws in prison. Just these sort of horrifying humanoid, like mutated humanoid forms trapped in collars and shackles and watched by cameras. Like his depiction of life as a prisoner psychologically is really brutal. And in a montage of Tom Hardy's character in art classes, we see some of it in animated form, and it is really harrowing. And actually, this leads us nicely into the climax of the film that might answer some of our questions we've had raised with the film so far. But
wait. I have a question first, though.
Oh, God damn it. I was ramping up to that.
Oh, is it?
God damn it!
Hey!
Fine, what?
Has anyone asked the real Charles Bronson what he thinks about this movie?
He's dead.
He's dead?
I think so. I'm going to...
Oh, my God.
Charles Bronson... real Charles Bronson. Yeah, he died 12 years ago.
12 years ago?
Charles Bronson, a.k.a. Charles Dennis Bushinsky. He passed away in 2003 in Los Angeles, California.
Well, Death Wish 3 is an amazing accomplishment, so I commend him.
Oh, man. The Dirt King of... he's amazing. In The Great Escape, he's so good.
Yeah. See Death Wish 3. It's maybe the most baffling thing ever. I don't know.
Yeah, you think that the Death Wish character is going to run out of family members to have killed and raped in his life, but it turns out there's sort of like a limitless well of people who are horribly attacked. Anyways. So as I was building...
Ramp it up.
Okay, let me ramp it up again. Oh my God, this movie. No. So the sort of climax of the film, the 19th hostage-taking situation that we encounter in the film, involves Bronson responding very negatively to criticism from an art teacher in this prison rehabilitation unit he's in. And he takes the art teacher hostage and essentially does... It slowly dawns on you what's actually happening, but he essentially ties up the art teacher, paints his own face on the art teacher, puts his own hat on the art teacher, gives him his glasses, and finally gives up the hostage situation when he has satisfactorily sort of created this version of himself crudely rendered on the body of another, as if he paints himself black, and creates this sort of he turns himself into he literally negates himself while creating a token of his own identity, and that's how the film ends. He manages to slip outside of his own skin by creating a double, and painted black, head to toe, dick out, he takes on another squad of cops before the climactic caging. But it's a really incredible last scene of a movie about this person so torn apart by his desire to define himself by any standard, and it takes him building a simulacrum of himself and abandoning it to finally experience what seems like some kind of release, obviously undermined by the after credits moment, but he seems for a moment to have found some kind of peace by removing himself from himself.
Yeah,
and stepping away from it.
That's really, he sort of goes through that a couple of times in the movie, and that's the last one where he just really gives up. I think the brief romance was another attempt, and I mean, it's just another thing where he's essentially trying to finally fit in, trying to give himself, like at the end, he has to just give himself up. Here he was attempting that human thing where we try to give ourselves up for another person, and that just backfires and falls away. But yeah, I think essentially this movie is about that attempt at growth, attempt at human growth, and just how easily it failed for him, and just how quickly he had to go back to back living in his little hole. Brutal.
Well, it raises other questions, like, is growth, is the idea of teleological growth real? Like, is the idea that things gradually improve real? Is the notion that our lives travel in some sort of upward trajectory an actual thing? Like, what if you encounter someone who truly does not care about, in a way, he wants to achieve things, but the achievements are all driven down the brutal repetition of constantly playing out the same battle to no apparent end.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was compared to, a lot of people compared this movie to Clockwork Orange when it came out, which is also, a movie about that sort of just the way we have to grow up eventually. I know the movie didn't take the same way that the book did, but the book is essentially about being a young person growing up into an adult and just the craziness that lives within an adolescent mind. And I think there is definitely some, the use of classical music in this, the way the prison metaphor is used, and just sort of about a brash young man being violent and unruly. And I think there are definitely some connections, but this one goes, I think it's even, it moves deeper and darker than A Clockwork Orange, which is maybe not the right thing to say, but I think it's just even less hopeful than A Clockwork Orange is.
Well, I thought in a way this was, man, I don't know. Hey, I'm going to catch some flack for this on the forums, but I like this a lot more than A Clockwork Orange, because there was the deep politicization of it. And man, I'm butchering these these fucking $5 college words I'm busting out. I'm just brutalizing. But this is not a political movie.
No, and I'm not sure Clockwork Orange is either, but
well, Kubrick's definitely invoking things about state control and the media in A Clockwork Orange, and certainly is very much addressing the idea of youth and youth culture in a very aggressive way. And this is kind of liberated from some sort of commentary on society. It's not. It's really this staring into the bloodshot eyes of a maniac and watching him dig his own grave with every single choice he makes.
Yeah, but I think that also, I mean, it's hard to not sort of make some connection there to somebody else, to anyone else, really. That, I mean, Refn, I know Only God Forgives took a little bit of time. I think you finally enjoyed it, or maybe enjoyed isn't the right word. But
I finally appreciated it.
But just the fact that each of his movies that drive, Only God Forgives, Bronson, probably the other ones too, are really about men wanting to do something else and failing and just doing what they know. And I mean, Only God Forgives I love that movie. I think I like it better than Bronson, but just the way that you see, and Drive too, it's just about these people that are trying to act against their natures. Bronson has that nature of violence. They're all about the way violence is inherent, and most of us, I'd say most of the population on this planet, can control that. And Refn loves to explore those people that can't. Even if they want to do something else, they just keep falling back to the fist rather than the open hand. And I mean, he uses that image all the time. If you watch that movie again, just look for the fist. It's always there. And Only God Forgives, he pushes it by having the constant release of the hand and then the closing of the fist, and that just like struggle. It's such an effortless motion, but just that struggle that exists for these people, which I think maybe it's not societal, but it is really about, I think it's just deep things within each of us. I think it's really interesting.
He's
to look
inspired
at that.
actually, verbiage to explain his fascination with the fist, and people are calling it fisting. And Refn has really kicked off this fisting revolution in filmmaking.
Woo!
If you were to go on Google right now and type in fisting, you'd find an entire genre of film dedicated to that image.
Amazing. I don't know. I've never really looked into that, but I'll check it out.
Get the family together,
Fisting?
sit them down, and you'll all learn a lot together.
All right. Is that with an F? Or they spell it funny on purpose?
Fisting. No. It's
Fisting.
spelled. It's not tongue in cheek, Charles. I know what you're thinking.
Okay.
Is someone having a laugh? And I'm here to tell you,
Okay.
no one's having a
It's
laugh.
just fist in ass.
What? Sorry? Yeah. Well,
Is
that
that
might
what it
come
is?
up in the Google.
I mean, I'm already searching. I'm doing research right now, and I think Refn would be proud, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Are you oddly aroused right now? That's all I had to say.
Yeah. I was thinking we could do our. No, never mind. That's okay.
Here's a question about Nicholas Winding Refn. What is up with his relationship with women? Because it seems like most of his films, they're about these isolated, devastatingly broken men in impossibly hopeless relationships. And the mother figure in Bronson had a lot of parallels to the mother figure in Only God Forgives. And in fact, those two movies, they feel like companion pieces.
Yeah, and honestly, the girlfriend characters in Drive and Bronson are also really similar. I can't remember any of their names, but the woman he sort of falls in love with and steals the ring for in Bronson.
By the way, everyone can unload on Charles in the forums for that comment. Just go ahead and jump on him. Do we have forums yet?
We'll have them. Well, yes, at this moment, in the future moment when this is a moment, yes.
Okay, good. I want to make sure there's a place for all of the rancor and ire to get directed.
The hate.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is why I'm doing this.
Sure.
I just want the hate.
Much like Bronson.
I don't even know what comment are you talking about. The ladies that you brought up a point about ladies. The men are all the same. The women are all the same. Refn, he's a one-trick pony, but
it's true.
I like ponies, so it's good. It all works out.
Yeah. Ponies, fisting. We've got it all here on the real.
That's our
deal.
website, right? Poniesfisting.com. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go there. Go there right now. It's gonna be good.
Ponies plus fisting on Google. No, yeah. So go on. You were drawing an insightful connection betwixt the dynamics and the roles in these Refn films we love so much.
You were just talking about Refn's deal with women. I mean, were there any women in the crazy one, the with no eyes or three eyes or one eyes or a Valhalla Rising? I mean, he just really. He deals with such, I guess you could say archetypal or whatever, just the basics of humanity. His men are men, his women are women. I don't even know if he names them or if he really cares that they go by names. He's really I think he's just dealing with a lot of stuff that's inside, and violence is a huge theme for him. And he also seems to like this idea of the woman being the opposite. There's violence and love, and men seem to choose one or the other, and all of Refn's characters always go for bashing someone's fucking face in.
Yeah, I wonder if Refn can ever, I doubt he will, but I always want him to sort of step outside some of these sort of like incredibly stringent archetypes that he trades in. Bronson, for a biopic, is so much looser and so much more organic than his other movies, I feel like. Only God Forgives is rigidly controlled. Valhalla Rising is one of these movies where when it gets thick and dense and impermeable, it is truly like a fog bank. In fact, I'm literally thinking about the fog bank scene in Valhalla Rising, which
I can see why, because that's all I can remember too.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get through that scene, you can get through anything in movies. That is endless. No, but I was thinking about it. What in Bronson, the character Bronson's mother is so much more emphasized than his father. And much like in Only God Forgives, she seems to have this role of immediately siding and protecting with her son and never blaming him for any of the choices that he makes. And yet also having a sort of ominous quality at the same time. Much more pronounced than Only God Forgives. But I don't know. She's one of the more elusive characters in Bronson. In a movie about faceless violence and faceless characters getting destroyed, she sort of stands out in her, almost wraith-like presence in the film.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually would need to, watch it another time But yeah, I totally agree. His parents, especially the mom, they're very strange characters. And I think the movie is littered with just oddities and these weird people. So many weird people inhabit this movie. And for some reason, the mother is probably the most normal, but she's also the most just strange presence in the movie. I think you're right. I think you've definitely hit something there that I need to go back and sort of watch again.
All I wanted to hear was that I was right.
Can we stop? We're done, right? We did it.
Yeah, we're out. I'm done. I just came.
I did too, actually. I'm on that Ponies site.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one. I have it bookmarked under Don't Look Here, Mom.
Oh, nice. The double bluff folder.
And speaking of don't look at things.
That was good.
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World. Yeah, so that's the movie we're going to talk about. That's, maybe still playing. It probably is. It's got to be still playing for some weird reason, but it's probably still playing. I hope it's not playing when you hear this.
Hey, if you're listening in Latvia, very strong odds it's still in theaters.
No, I mean, it made how many millions?
I mean, I want to say, over $500 million.
Oh, didn't it go over $1 billion?
Oh, I'm sure worldwide. Yeah, I was talking the good old red, white, and blue stars and bars American domestic
yelled at me
report.
For thinking that way. Now you can think that way?
Well, okay, Charles. Look, this is about cold hard American cash.
That's right.
I don't care how many yen it made. I'm not looking for how many dinars it made. I want to know how many sweet old greenbacks with old Unky Sam on them.
Okay, that's valid. I agree.
For the record, I want to point out that Uncle Sam is, I don't think, on any American currency.
He was on one of them, like the $1 million bill, I think. I don't know.
Is that even a real bill?
I don't know. I had this little Trapper Keeper when I was in middle school, and it had a bunch of $1 million bills with Uncle Sam on it.
I don't know if that was like a mint-issued Trapper Keeper.
I don't know. I liked it.
No, you're allowed to like it. I just don't think that the government was involved in distributing the Trapper Keeper you had in elementary school.
I don't know. Fine. What? You always have to do that.
I'm not trying to shoot you down or get caught up in the minutia, but a Trapper Keeper is not legal tender, and I don't really want to
actually.
Make a wish. Oh, God.
Speaking of Trapper Keepers,
yes,
Jurassic World was essentially the Trapper Keeper. It's just like, it's like if you fucking pulled out a Trapper Keeper from your desk and you're like, oh, look, remember that thing we all had? That's all Jurassic World was.
Well,
it was a fucking $1 million Trapper Keeper.
That's a beautiful metaphor, and I want to just pause for a minute and acknowledge how beautiful that metaphor was. But you're right. It's a movie that at its heart is not really a movie. It's a sort of extended nostalgia piece asking viewers to remember how much they enjoyed Jurassic Park, and then kind of ceding all actual personal identity as a film to the endless veneration and worship of Jurassic Park. So by the end of the film, when the main antagonist from Jurassic Park eliminates the completely forgettable, overblown, almost anonymous villain from Jurassic World, it's like...
I know, I forgot.
they symbolically finished their own movie by killing it off with a better movie. It's an inexplicable garbage heap full of the least charismatic people. It's like they got even Chris Pratt, who, well, I would not, I'm not mistaking Chris Pratt for like Michael Shannon, but Chris Pratt is likable.
Yeah.
He was very likable in, Galaxy Lord something.
Guardian.
Masters of the Galaxy Lord. Yeah.
That one. Yeah, he was good.
That was fun. I remembered almost nothing about it, but he was easy on the eyes. And then they found a way to suck out all of his charisma and have him just, vapidly mumble the most garbage, idiotic Man, I feel like this is just going to devolve into a series of increasingly vitriolic rants against how bad Jurassic World was. But I'm kind of stupid.
It was bad.
I don't ask a lot from summer movies. I loved Avengers, You
loved Avengers?
I really enjoyed Avengers as a popcorn movie.
Oh
Avengers
my God,
was a popcorn movie.
It was the exact same thing as Jurassic World, except
it was funny, and there was I remember nothing from that either, I guess. But it made me giggle, and there was big dumb alien fights, and the big stupid CGI was pretty fun. I'm not hard against all this stuff. I'm not the last person I want to play is someone who is sipping Pernod and watching Godard movies by himself in his study or whatever. That's really not who I am.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, sorry. That is, by the way, literally what Charles does most weekends.
Most weekends.
Charles can be heard stroking his chin and going, yes, yes.
In French.
And maybe, which is, oui, well, an etude from Chopin, plays softly in the back.
That was a beautiful accent, Josh.
Oui.
Oui.
Anyways,
the
Jurassic World was
on a oui.
fucking terrible. Just, here's what I want from a movie with dinosaurs in it. I want it to be scary. I want it to have cool fight scenes. I want there to be memorable dialogue from rugged men saying stuff like "clever girl." And, I want there to be some sense of suspense. And instead, Jurassic World is sort of a sodden mess with no plot, no direction, no discernible climax that is any more or less distinctive than the rest of the sort of turgid gray experience of watching this sort of, it's like the most faceless movie. You can't, it's so hard to squeeze any character out of it. It's just sort of people being prodded around a stage for an hour and a half and then it's done. It's just terrible.
No, it's weird. It's as though 6 different teams wrote a script and each of them wrote 20 minutes. It's like that stupid game that people play where they draw on things and then they make someone else draw on things.
Exquisite corpse.
Yeah, that. It's like Jurassic World was an exquisite corpse of some shitty undergrad screenwriting class. It made the characters, I don't even know why I don't know what Chris Pratt was doing in the movie. I do not understand his presence. He made no sense to me. Were we supposed to care about anything that happened to him? I just didn't get it. I just didn't understand what he was doing. You could have taken him out of the movie. The plot would have been exactly the same. Nothing would have changed. I just don't understand. The movie was so bad.
Yeah, it sucked. And, there's a few movies like this I've given the full benefit of the doubt, which for me means turning up stoned at midnight, where I'm the most susceptible to enjoying something stupid. I will cite the unfortunate example of Anchorman 2, a movie that was actually excruciating in how fucking stupid it was. And again, this is someone, I'm stupid. I voluntarily offered money and time to the Anchorman franchise, and I will happily watch the first film. I enjoy it. It's full of some great jokes. But, man, yeah, I saw Jurassic World on a misty night. It was actually the 4th of July. I'd unexpectedly been summoned to my family's home in Western Massachusetts due to a death in the family. And in a sort of misguided effort to alleviate some of the collective sadness, me and my cousins ingested some potent weed tincture and went to go watch this movie. And, you have the table set for a fun time at the movies. It's you and some family, some recreational drug use. You're essentially alone in, Berkshire County.
That's right. There's probably no one there.
4th.
You could have chatted. You could have, it could have been a really fun thing if it had been a fun movie.
Well, even if it had been a fun, bad movie, I
Right.
guess what I want to stress here is that this wasn't like the kind of movie where you get to go and laugh at it the whole time.
No.
You know, this is the kind of movie where you're left becoming increasingly agitated.
No, it's the kind of movie that
as
you
nothing
laugh at the
happens.
people sitting there until you realize that you're one of them, and then you just feel bad. It's
So you punch your way into prison, and once you get into prison, you just keep
Just-
punching because the only reality you know is how to protect
you
yourself, and you
imagine?
protect yourself by being as strong as you can, and you define your own boundaries by being as constrained as possible.
but honest, I fucking hate Jurassic Park. I think it's a fucking stupid movie. It's essentially this Jurassic World is a movie that just like makes the nostalgia thing so apparent that it's bad. But they fucking love Jurassic Park and they can't even see that it's just, because they saw it when they were a kid. Jurassic Park's a really shitty movie too. This isn't, I don't know. Jurassic World isn't even a movie. I don't even know what it is. It was weird.
And here we step into the gladiatorial arena as I come out swinging my big old dick, because I rewatched Jurassic Park on my birthday a few years ago, and it was re-released in 3D. And Jurassic Park is a wonderful, excellent summer popcorn movie. It is, every scene is memorable and iconic. It has some great character actors doing their thing to the height of their game. I love Jurassic Park. Is it a capital G great movie? Nah, probably not. Is it incredibly fun to watch in a theater? Absolutely. And come on, Laura Dern and Sam Neill, fuck off, man.
Jurassic Park it's embarrassingly bad. It's movie.
It's not embarrassing. It's delightful pulp. There's a
But they're both about the exact same thing, and I think
right, but one is a dogged,
you-
slavish adaptation of the former, and one actually sort of stands on its own as at least having some kind of like.
You said you wanted a scary movie. Jurassic Park is not a scary movie. At no point are you ever concerned for the well-being of any of these people.
That is not true. Compared to Jurassic World, it's
You
terrifying.
Here's the thing: you were though when you were 5, or I don't know how old you were. When this movie came
who's
out.
acting like a 5-year-old right now, Charles? You.
No.
You.
Shut up. No, just stop. Essentially, you liked this movie when you were an idiot. Okay, and that's fine because when you're 8 years old, you're a fucking idiot, and you can like dinosaurs eating lawyers off of a fucking toilet. That's funny when you're 8 and when your brain is stupid and soft.
Charles,
but,
Charles. Charles. What do you call
What?
a lawyer buried up to his neck in sand?
I don't know.
Not enough sand.
Oh,
That's a lawyer joke for you.
I was waiting for the jokes. The jokes. We needed more jokes. But I'm just saying, Jurassic Park it's stupid, and the point, like, if you were to say it's about something, it's the exact same thing that Jurassic World is about. It's about essentially this Jurassic Park is about a woman and a man, and the woman wants kids, and the man doesn't want kids, and he goes through this adventure of getting nearly killed by dinosaurs to maybe see, oh, I guess I should maybe have kids with this lady. Oh, and then divorce her in a couple of movies down the road. And then Jurassic World's like it's the same thing, except it's even hazier as to why we should give a shit about these people. But it's just Jurassic. Oh my God, Jurassic Park.
So you read Jurassic Park from the men's rights activist standpoint of a man being coerced into having a child.
No, just watch it again. The whole movie's about him like trying to get along with those stupid kids, and then by the end he's hugging them, and then he gets married, and I think they get divorced. I don't remember what happens in Jurassic Park 2 and 3, but their relationship goes south. But it's about survival, and it's about humans having sex and having
Life finds a way, Charles. Life finds a way.
Exactly. But I don't know, I think it's interesting if we were to actually continue this discussion about film. I think it's actually really fascinating how the medium itself really does allow for you to just sort of go back. Like a book, you can't do that. You can't go back and read like those chapter books you read when you were an idiot and like them. You can't listen to stupid kids music that you listened to when you were 3 years old and like it. For some reason, you can watch a movie that you watched as a kid and like really enjoy it. Well, I can't, but for some reason, most people can sit back and like just get back into the kid mindset when they're watching a movie. I just don't really understand that. It's an interesting part about film.
Well, I think you're raising a whole psychological profile here that we could spend another hour getting into. Like, there's things from my childhood that I delight in revisiting because I think of those bridges back to that part of our life where wonder comes.
Right, but I think there's something about understanding, like when you go back and read like a picture book you really liked, you don't get into it the same way you used to. You don't really get fascinated by the story. You don't want to hear it over and over again like you did. But for some reason, like people can still go back and watch that shitty movie that was just like that book. And I think it has to just be I don't know. It's totally guessing. It's like the visual nature of the way we consume this shit. Like the way we like will always. I was driving. There were fireworks after a baseball game. I live right near Hadlock Field. And some idiot was driving and just stopped in the middle of the fucking road. Traffic, he didn't give a shit. He was watching the fucking fireworks. And just like the way we react to these visual stimuli and just like, oh my God, it's exploding light. Oh my God, it's a fucking dinosaur movie. I just,
Charles,
I don't know. I don't get it.
If I have to apologize
so
again
weird
about that, I think it's a little immature of you to bring that up on the podcast. I told you I was sorry. I was enjoying the fireworks. And what can I say?
But you know, it's just like magic. Like the kids love magic because they can still be like, wow, how does that work? How do they do that? Like they think it's real. Same way when you watch a movie, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. The dinosaurs, I got to see a dinosaur. And you're fucking 30 years old. Well, I'm 30 years old. I don't believe that that's a dinosaur, and I don't give a shit that there's CGI dinosaurs, no matter how good it looks. Everyone says, oh, but Jurassic Park looks so good. It's 25 years old. It still looks good. Who cares? Are you fucking dumb? Do you believe it's a dinosaur?
God. Charles, the shred of credibility you're dangling from is disintegrated. The work of Stan Winston on that movie is truly some of the greatest work done by practical effects in film.
Right, but who cares?
I think people who enjoy craftsmanship care. I think people who enjoy the realization of the fantastic in the physical care. I think that Jurassic Park is a great movie because it's sort of beat by beat, it takes you somewhere, and it does it very effectively. Is it nuanced? Is it a mature, it is what it is. It's the best version of what it is.
It's dumb. It is fucking stupid. The kids in that movie, watch that again. The way they treat that girl, like Jesus Christ, that girl's character is atrocious. She's a nothing in that movie. I don't even know. Jesus, watch that movie again. Pay attention to those people that you're really caring about. The fucking flea scene or the circus scene.
Do you know the number of times in real life discussions with Charles devolves into a bitter argument against my own childhood? It's nice to see that reflected on Mike tonight.
Where Attenborough, he either has to choose between a really shitty Scottish accent or trying to put emotion into it and losing the accent altogether. Watch that scene where he talks about the flea circus. He doesn't sound like he did when he's popping champagne. The movie just lacks credibility. It lacks emotional resonance. It's dumb. Jurassic Park is dumb. Jurassic World is dumb. Why are they still making these stupid fucking movies? I don't know.
Life finds a way, Charles. Life finds a way.
There you go. We'll survive.
Well,
we'll survive. We'll make $1 billion by having somebody make a movie that makes absolutely no sense because people watched a movie that made very little sense 30 years ago. That's cinema. American cinema at its finest.
That's the song and dance. These Johnny Trumps in their stupid seats sit back and let them just slosh into their faces because it's so fucking dumb. You ever listen to Bill Hicks?
Bill Hicks?
Yeah. He also hated all the consumerism and dum-dums in this country. And
well, that's
people are so dumb going to the movies to have a good time. My problem is that I think you can have a good time at Jurassic Park, and you can't have a good time at Jurassic World because it's so fucking shallow and boring.
It is considerably harder to have a good time at Jurassic World. I have a hard time having a good time at Jurassic Park.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and carve a compliment for Jurassic Park out of what you just said, and make the only point I was really trying to make with the comparison, which is that even if Jurassic Park is not a, adult, mature movie with themes about, women choosing which of their kids to kill or whatever Charles goes to see in his free time. But it's at least a film where there's a sense of tension and a sense of release, and there's a sense of arc to it.
I'll give you that.
And Jurassic World is...
No, I'll totally give you that.
...is comparatively a flavorless mash that ends in total confusion, and the only seeming thing is that the main female lead has been successfully shamed into being a better woman because she wasn't a good woman pursuing a successful career. And they spend much of the movie belittling that choice and making her out to be some kind of nightmare person for not memorizing her nephew's ages. And I will say I straight up booed the movie when she kisses Chris Pratt after Chris Pratt saves her life. That was probably the breaking point of anything remotely.
That was insane. That was like we're still making movies 30 years ago shit, like where you just like the filmmaker wants someone to fall in love, so they just kiss someone. No one acted like a real person.
Well, hold on. One, you're looking at it from a very interesting standpoint. I was looking at it from the gendered standpoint of the man saves the woman's life, so she like reciprocates him saving her life with a kiss and like devotion, and it was such a bleak.
Yeah.
A bleak.
No, I'll give you that too.
Man, that was just... And again, they play it off like it's part of this grand romantic narrative when it's just sort of like, wow, this person who was within inches of a horrific, painful death was spared that, and the man's reward is the body of the woman. And I was like, it's 2015.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's gross.
They talk about gross. And the way it's just so quietly, oh, God.
It was unnerving too. Yeah, that was weird.
I will say I want to take a minute to heap the only praise worth giving to Jurassic World on the great Jake Johnson and Lauren Lapkus playing the requisite dorky tech people who saved the film from being completely forgettable by one pretty good joke, or at least a joke made considerably better by the complete absence of any humanity in the rest of the film.
Was he the guy who was wearing the Jurassic Park shirt?
Yeah, Jake Johnson of New Girl fame, and the films of Joe Swansburg. I made you watch Drinking Buddies.
That's not a coincidence that the most memorable the person with the most life in that movie was the person wearing the Jurassic Park memorabilia.
Yeah.
Every person, I think before they could film, everyone had to have a fucking hard-on for Jurassic Park. It's like, are you ready? Do you like Jurassic Park enough yet? And then they just shoot the movie. And it was weird. I'm glad I wasn't there, but everyone loved Jurassic. This movie was about fucking Jurassic Park. I swear.
Well, see, it's funny because I know you. Our listeners are just warming up to the Grand Charles experience. But I love that what you're angry about is not that the movie is a desperate shill for legitimacy by mining a well-trodden path that has already had 2 preceding sequels, but you just fucking hate Jurassic Park.
I do. And it's like, this movie loves it.
Like,
shut up.
I'm angry at it because it's lazy. You're angry at it because it's paying homage to a film that makes you...
No, I'm angry because it's lazy, and it's just angering because it's terrible, and the only thing that it's trying to accomplish is to say, hey, look how good this other movie was, which wasn't very good. But like to have the end, like the only... Like, were we supposed to cheer when the T-Rex killed the Indominus Rex? Like, were we supposed to be like, yes, the Jurassic Park won? I don't really know.
Well,
I thought that's what it felt like we were supposed to be doing.
I do want to point out...
Like, look how big and bad JP was. Fuck you, JW. JP.
One of the many strange choices in Jurassic World is to... sort of deck out the main bad guy dinosaur with all of these skills and attributes, and yet not actually... I felt like what made me the angriest about Jurassic World is that, it's the 2015 reboot of this series. You really want the main antagonist to be, a big fucking deal. And instead we get basically a T-Rex that can camouflage itself and is sort of, I don't know,
yeah,
meaner
made no
or
sense.
something. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. No, that's a great. It's just like this. If the whole plot of the movie was that they were making a dinosaur that would attract people, making a T-Rex that you can't see isn't going to attract people. So right there, the plot is just completely broken apart, and the fact that they have a huge fucking whale soar that is crazy. Like I would totally see the whale soar. And the fact that that's just like, it shows up, people love it, but why would you make a T-Rex if you have the whale soar? Make something cool.
Yeah, that was really weird. And by the way, whale soar is, that's great, what you just said. Whale soar.
Whale soar?
Yeah, the water T-Rex.
Sounds awful, actually.
You make a really good point where the only good visual part of the movie is the fucking water dinosaur, and he's so sick, he's so cool. I liked him.
Yeah, and like, maybe you should make something else. Maybe you should make... the T-Rex, it's more fucking sucking the ball sack of JP.
Also, I want
Here's the T-Rex.
It's hard to not watch movies as a huge fucking asshole like me and not want to immediately make brutal editorial and directorial decisions. But Jurassic World,
do it better.
this is what all this talk has done to me. Jurassic World.
Give Josh $1 million. He'd make you a better one.
Oh, it's true. Though, you know, about $500,000 of that money would go into buying pizza. Anyways,
I'm really liking it. I'm liking where that's going.
Jurassic World starts in the most perplexing possible way. A decision that I truly cannot justify in any way. The film begins in a snowy part of middle America in a well-to-do cul-de-sac where the criminally underutilized, which is like my favorite phrase for movie reviewing, criminally underutilized, Judy Greer of Arrested Development fame is hysterical. She's an amazing character actress. She is excellent.
She is.
And she appears in the movie to sort of be a defeated wife / supporting mother and sees her children, her completely fucking boring, shitty kids get sent off to see their aunt in Jurassic World. And her role in the film seems to be that she's a victim of her completely anonymous but cruel husband, who is the most disposable possible character in the movie. The child's father is sort of like just kind of a shitty guy, and it doesn't really matter. It's just something about their lives that the brothers have to bond together because their shitty dad and their almost barely present mother are going to divorce or something. It's like this weird, I'm not even going to call it a B plot. It's something like an F plot. It's this weird detail just tossed into the film, but the entire movie is framed by two people who are not the main characters. The main characters of Jurassic World, if you can even dignify them with that, are Chris Pratt and Ron Howard's daughter. And they don't show up in the movie.
That's essentially the problem.
For the first 10 minutes.
I forget. Longer. I don't know. Chris Pratt shows up like 40 minutes. I don't know. Time shifted strangely.
It's just
while I was there.
It's a tone-deaf movie that puts weight on some of the most bizarre things. Like, you know.
Well, I think that's the whole thing. Is that essentially it's 6 plots crammed together. You start with one thing and then you move quickly, and some reason, I don't know what happened. I wish wasn't this like in the process for a decade with a bunch of different directors and writers behind it? I don't know. I didn't do any research for this podcast, but
it's reassuring to hear that. No, watching the movie, I was like, start big with the fucking water T-Rex doing the big old jump and eating the thing. You have a set piece where a massive dinosaur eats a shark dangling from like a crane.
Something that normally, like on planet Earth, you watch that scene over and over again with a big shark slow-mo, and then that's the thing that's eaten. Like that, the thing that's eating is the eaten. That's cool.
Yeah. So
They had it.
They could have started the movie with, frankly, a powerful visual metaphor setting up the rest of the film. Kick off the movie, like blow the doors off. Start with your big set piece. Get people excited. So when the movie opens on snowy, suburban, fucking, I don't know, Wisconsin or whatever.
I fell asleep. I was asleep. I was like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
Is Fargo 2? Is this Fargo 2? Snoozed.
Well,
I was
no,
out.
it's not Fargo 2. We're talking about Jurassic World.
Oh, wasn't? I know. I thought we were watching Fargo 2 because it was in snow country.
Okay. For old men?
And I was just like, I don't want to watch this. I want to.
Snow country for old men?
No, not that one.
Shut up. Snow country for old men.
I get it. Another joke. Is that all? Anyway, it was weird. But that's the whole thing. There's that saying. I don't know who said it. Somebody said, look at the first shot, look at the last shot. It's supposed to mean something about the movie. Here, if you did that test, whatever that test is called, it would fail. I don't even know if there's a rating system for that test, but it would create a failing. They would fail that test.
So it would fail the test, the name of which you can't recall and the premise of which you can't quite articulate.
I don't know if it exists. Maybe someone else made it up. I didn't. But essentially, having it begin with some kids in a driveway and end with somebody saying, We'll survive, baby.
Oh,
What did he
hold on,
say?
hold on.
How did the movie end?
We really have to take a minute to acknowledge what has to be the single worst last line of a movie I've ever seen.
That's what I'm saying.
So distinctively stupid that is seared into my memory because I try to think about a grown adult writing this down on a piece of paper, printing it out, reading it, giving it to multiple other adults to read, and everyone going, yeah, that's how you end a movie. So
That's it.
Ron Howard's broken, defeated daughter, who has learned how to be a better woman in the service of Chris Pratt, who is just sort of a generic nice guy, turns to him and
She
says,
is better for it.
So again, this is
true.
a woman who, to this point, has been an executive running a theme park that brings in millions of dollars of investment and
Millions.
fields hundreds of thousands of visitors a year. She's someone who apparently has immense capability and skill, turns to some dumb fuck in a vest whose one skill is falling in love with and possibly having sex with velociraptors. And she asks him...
That is never made clear.
She asks him for what they should do next because he saved her life earlier, continuing the noxious display of casual sexism that underscores the entire film. And his advice to her, upon having survived, multiple life and death situations involving reptilian nightmare beings, he says, probably stick together. Pause. For survival.
Probably
Stick together for survival. That's the last line of the movie, unless you count the idiot T-Rex howling at the end. The last human note of the film is a line so spectacularly clumsy and misbegotten and poorly rendered that it is like a jaw-dropping choice that I really, of all the decisions in the film, I kind of get it. You throw that much money at a movie, by the time you get it mostly done, as far as effects or set pieces go, it's done. I get it. But a script, and a scene where two people are standing in a room and talking, you could do that a couple times.
Yeah.
You
could come up with some ideas. You could spitball even.
Sure. You could have a little fun improvising. But instead, we were left with probably stick together for survival. A sentence that has made every English major listening to this have a fucking heart attack and die.
Yeah.
It starts with a fucking adverb.
Right? Probably. I mean, that's a weak. It's a weak line, weak movie. It's just like, wow. If they wanted, I think they were just trying to make us think that the movie was about something.
Yeah, and
so,
it truly wasn't. I mean, of course, there's Vincent.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was genius. Maybe it's pointing out just the pointlessness of life and how stupidly we all fall in love with each other, and just maybe it was a genius movie and just.
Well, hold on. Let's unpack that, because maybe if your assertion that Jurassic Park is the Auschwitz of films, maybe what the movie's about is that nostalgia leads us on a blind path to the worst things about ourselves, where we regress and gradually disintegrate into just nothingness because all we're doing is pantomiming something that never really was. So maybe that's what the theme of the movie. Maybe it's like a deeply existential peeling the skin back on how we collectively imagine our past, and we're left with just empty nothings as it fades into total, emptiness.
I like it. I like that. Actually, I like Jurassic World now. That's a good point.
Yeah. I'm right.
No, I mean, of course the movie's there's so many screens and so many people being distracted by technology. I mean, yeah, but no, it's not about that. It's about nostalgia kicking fucking ass. It's about we're all stuck in this 21st century nonsense. Let's go back and fuck that T-Rex, because that's what we all love and we've forgotten it. We let it just wither because we have the Indominus Rex now. No, the movie was shit. It was fucking shit.
And the saddest part, the one opportunity that it really, really missed that made me very sad is that in a movie like this, it's 100% about stuffing it full of character actors. And this movie was just so fucking bad that the one character actor they got that I was really excited to see, Vincent D'Onofrio, really shits the bed, and to such a degree that you're left being like, wow, this guy was in a Kubrick movie. And now he's,
Was he the weird bad guy sort of thing.
Yeah, he was the flush, the beer-bellied, flushed man wishing to.
The guy who always wanted to get the Raptors.
Yeah, trying to
out?
get like the Raptors to work for the U.S. military or whatever. And I want to point out that
Yeah.
trying to demonize the U.S.
Why-
military when you're like whatever fucking massive studio that made this turd, you're just as much a cultural criminal. Well, okay, the U.S. military arguably has done worse things, but
Well.
Jurassic World's a bad movie, and that's what I'm trying to say. And that's episode 1 of The Real Deal with Josh and Charles. Charles, what are your final thoughts?
I'm spent. I don't know. I'm gonna go wander around looking for fireworks to stand in front of traffic for.
And I'm going to stay
I don't
here
know.
late in the studio, and I'm going to Google fisting and ponies. And I don't care how long it takes me, but I'm going to find a little bit of truth. I'm going to find a little bit of truth in this broken world. So, end of the day, go see Bronson. It's on Netflix. It's a nuanced, horrifying, brilliant movie about the depths of the human experience. And Jurassic World is a horrifying depth of the human experience that is alarmingly real and vivid. So on that note, I bid our listeners farewell. Thank you for listening. Check us out online. I've been Josh.
And this is Charles, as always.
This is the part where we think of a last line that sums it up neatly.
The real deal.
The Real Deal. With Josh and Charles,
The-
go fist a pony. Thanks.
Go. That's it. Go fist a pony. Thanks.